You need to stop making these common lifting mistakes in the gym if you want to start seeing real results. I see some of the same four mistakes made in the gym all the time, and it prevents people from actually making the progress that reflects the amount of effort that they're putting in. So I'm going to give you the four things that you really need to focus on, plus a really boring bonus one at the end to make sure that you see consistent progress even after you fix them. The first one here is pretty basic. It's getting your form right, but it's a little bit more complicated and complex than you may have thought. And the reason the form is right is not just for the sake of making sure that you're lifting safely and that you don't get injured, because that's going to completely knock you out of the game and not allow you to train, period. But it's about learning how to properly recruit each muscle that should be recruited in the exercise you're performing. See, when you're doing a certain exercise like a squat or maybe a deadlift, and you don't know how to properly maybe recruit your hamstrings or use your glutes in that movement, then you're not going to be really building those muscles in the way that you should during that exercise. And so, learning how to get proper form and then gradually increasing the weights over time once you've learned how to properly recruit those muscles is really important, because poor form doesn't allow you to recruit the correct muscles, and therefore you're not working them at all. Now, let's say you've perfected your form. This is where number two comes in. As you gradually start increasing your weights over time, a lot of people start getting into what's called ego lifting, where they're proud of themselves for how much they can lift, but they start lifting more than what they can lift, again, with proper form. And so that form that you built in the beginning starts to degrade because you're more focused on lifting heavier than actually lifting correctly. And sometimes you don't even notice that it's happening because your form is somewhat okay, but you're not actually stimulating the muscles that are supposed to be the primary movers in order to really make sure that you're getting the maximal amount of stimulus out of that muscle to force the growth and force the progress. And so you want to make sure that you're lifting the correct amount that challenges you, that leaves you exhausted at the end, but isn't so much weight that it actually degrades your ability to do the form correctly. Now, before you even get to any of the workout period is problem number three, and that's our warm up. See, the warm up is more than just getting your body ready for exercising and raising your heart rate, but it's actually driving blood and nutrients into the muscles. It's turning your neurons on to let your muscles know to wake up and start getting activated. And by doing a proper warm up based on the exercises and the muscle groups that you're going to be using during the entire workout, you're going to get better recruitment from those muscle groups as you're performing the exercises. They're going to be ready and better stimulated during the actual workout, which is going to get you better results in the end. So skipping your warm up completely leaves you not able to actually push yourself to the best of your ability during the warm up. And it actually makes it so that you don't actually push yourself to that capacity until maybe halfway through it, which is going to leave a lot of results on the table. Now, when you approach these workouts, they're more than individual training sessions. And this is number four. This is a training plan that you need to be implementing, not just individual workouts. And what I mean by that is that you need to come into each session with an intentionality of gradually pushing yourself a little bit harder than you did before. Now, does that mean that you're never going to have weeks where you're just exhausted and maybe you scale it back a little bit? No, but you need to recognize that again with purpose and intentionality of, hey, I'm going to scale it back for a week or two, deload, and then I'm going to come back into my training plan and start to push myself a little bit harder week after week. And by coming at your training plan with that systematic approach, you are going to force, through a progressive overload, the ability for your muscle to adapt slowly over time. And this is really important in order to see any type of result in any training program that you actually do. Because if there is no systematic progressive overload, then you're not actually going to see results from that training plan, and you're going to eventually just plateau. Now, this is where my really boring bonus comes in. I've talked about this in previous videos, and so if you've seen those, you've heard this before, and that's tracking what you're actually doing. There's no way to actually know that you are making progress in your training plan if you don't know what you did not only the last workout, but how did you do that workout 4 or 8 weeks ago? And the ability to actually look back at what you did and see that you're doing more now gives you that knowledge of, all right, this is how much more I'm pushing myself. And that allows you from then moving forward of, all right, I'm going to increase the weights just a little bit more than I did last time, or maybe squeeze out an extra rep or two to push yourself even further. And you can do this with real simple paper and pad. You can do this on your phone in the notes section. Or if you're a client here at Scope Fitness, we have your training program possibly even laid out for you, like in our semi-private program, where you're able to track the weights and the reps, and you'll know exactly what you did because it's on the app. So these are the tips that you really need to focus on to make sure that you don't leave results on the table and that you get the best results possible while you put all that effort into the gym.